In this video, we will take a look at how to make certain adjustments to your Looker Studio templates built by Coupler. And for the agenda of this video, we'll do a quick recap of how to set up a template, then take a look at how to extend the date range for the report, how to add certain data points. More specifically, we'll be doing PPC multi-channel and adding some conversions data to it, and then also see how to visualize that data in the report itself. So without further ado, let's start with a quick recap. Find the report. We're going to do PPC multi-channel. Click Try this report. Connect the data sources. So I'll just do LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, and Google ads for the sake of this demonstration. Click Looker Studio Connect, generate data source. Don't forget to give this a name. Then click Connect, and let's wait for it to load. So once it loads, don't forget to review the data source and change certain metric types, such as the amount spent, CPC, CPM, and in this particular case also CTR. Then let's click on Create Report. Wait for it to render, and we will have this copy on our side with full edit access. All right, so now that we have this data in here, let's go back to the couplerio, the data flow that we just created. It's a good practice to also rename it to maybe something similar that we did with the data source name, just so that you have it linked properly. So then when I click Finish and Proceed, I will be taken to this screen over here. And before we're able to make any adjustments, we need to click on this button in the top right corner and navigate to the advanced settings of the workflow, which will showcase the tabs such as data sources, transformations, etc. So for us to be able to start making any changes and adjustments to the template, we first need to navigate to the data sources tab. And this is where we can do two things. Number one is we can extend the date range for our templates. So by default, this template uses a 2 months ago up until today rolling period. If I want to change that, let's say to something like 3 months ago, or to have 3 months rolling basis, or if I wanted to maybe hard code the start date and leave the end date as today, it is also possible to do something like this. So just define it to your liking and your needs, and just make sure that it's universal across all the other sources as well. So let's do the report period adjustments first. And then next, since my goal is to add conversions to this template, as you may know already, they're not included by default. I'd need to make sure that this information is included as part of the metrics we are extracting from the API. So with Facebook ads, I'll go to metrics and dimensions over here. You'll see that there are a few things available, but nothing around conversions. So if I start typing conversions, I will have a whole list of everything that Facebook offers. So it's essentially up to you to find conversion or conversions that you want to include. So let's say this is the one that I want to track. For LinkedIn ads, I will also double check. I'll see that conversions is already here. Maybe I also want to add something like conversion value in local currency as a metric. And then the Google Ads specifics is a little bit different. We work with it based on report types. So in order to get the conversions data, we need to apply certain change in transformations directly. So let's go to transformations now and wait for it to render the preview data for us. All right, so now that we have our data, for any sources where we added something in the data source step, you will see a notification saying that hey, something has changed. So for Facebook, we've added completed registration conversion, and by default, the API will return the total count, value, cost, and a few other unique metrics. So for the sake of this, I'm only really interested in the total count and also the value. So I will hide the rest. Let's look at LinkedIn ads now. So same warning or notification saying that you've added the conversion value. I will click Apply New. We also saw that the conversions were included by default, but they are not part of the template. So we can go to the columns management section and find the external website conversions, which is our conversion metric. For Google Ads, we will do something very similar. We'll go to the columns management section and just look for the conversions that we need. And let's say I'm interested in conversions and also the conversions value. So next up, since we have a dashboard data set, which is a blend of all of these three sources, we need to make sure we apply proper column names. So let me start with Facebook, as it already has some structure I'd like to use. So I will just name them conversions total, just copy it over. In here, I will say this is my conversions value. And I would have to do the same renaming for LinkedIn and Google Ads. So for the external website conversions, this is going to be the total count. And then for the value, it's going to be the conversions value. Same for Google Ads. And it's very important that these names match. Otherwise, once we add this data to the Looker Studio report, we won't be able to properly add it to the dashboard. So now that I've added these names, and let me make sure this is value, we can double check the dashboard data set, and you'll see that these two new columns, total and value, are now part of this data set. So next we have to rerun the workflow in order for it to send this updated data to the Looker Studio data source. All right, so now that it was successfully updated, we can go back to the Looker Studio template. Before we are able to see new data points appear, we have to edit our data source and synchronize the changes. So let's click Edit Data Source over here. So when this loads, we will have a Refresh Fields button over here. Let me move my video for a second. So this action will essentially say, hey, you have two new fields that are added to the dataset. We'll click Apply. And then also, now that we have total and value in here, maybe we want to change it to from text to something like currency instead. So click Done. And now to the fun part. So the conversions group is already part of the dashboard. So what we have to do now is to add it to the dashboard itself. So for example, maybe in here, I want to make a little bit of extra space to add another scorecard that's going to show me my total conversions count. So let me just select one, copy and paste it. Drag it to move it, and then let's say in here I'm just going to replace the metric to show me the count of total conversions for all of these sources. If I want to calculate something cost per conversion, so we have CPC, which is cost per click in this dashboard, I would also be able to add a calculated field now that I have the total and the amount spent in here. So I'll click Add Calculated Field. Let's say I call it CPConv, just whatever makes sense. And then the formula is very simple. It's your amount spent over sum of the total, which is for us the total count of all conversions. So we will save this metric. Okay, so it's for some reason picked it up as text. So we need to go back and go to our resource tab, manage data sources, just edit the data source, and also change the total from text to the numeric value. It can just be a number in this case. And then we will be able to re-add this calculated field. Okay. So sum of the amount spent over sum of the total, which right now should work just fine. Okay, so now that we've added this metric, it's going to appear in here as our calculated metric. And then let's say I want to also move these ones a little bit to the left to have some extra space. I'm not focusing too much on the Looker Studio UI overview, just kind of showing you guys what you would probably do with something like this. So in here, instead of total, I want to see my cost per conversion. And now I've added these as scorecards. So it's a number. If I wanted to make it a currency, I can also do something like that here. So everything is universal. And then potentially you would want to add something like this to your table over here. So very simple to do. You would click on it to see this setup section over here. And then let's add the total count of my conversions. And then maybe the cost per conversion. Since I've also added the value in here, I would be able to calculate ROAS and different things as well, which I'll skip over for the sake of this demonstration. On a very high level, this is the entire process of how you would add something to a dashboard, as far as adding new data points, how to then make them be part of the dashboard, etc. And a huge disclaimer at this point. So what you and I did just now is we added just the total count of conversions from LinkedIn, Google Ads, Facebook Ads. We didn't really focus on the breaking down part of the conversions. If you wanted to see only certain conversion from LinkedIn ads or Google Ads, the process there is a bit different. We have another video on our YouTube highlighting that, but our best recommendation would be to actually look at some of our other templates, such as the LinkedIn ads dashboard or the Google ads dashboard, that are dedicated specifically to these platforms, where we by default pull all conversions there are and give you a breakdown section where you can actually analyze it without having to do any kind of previous transformations or setup work and so on. That's it for this video, and I hope this was helpful. We'll see you in the next one.